Good afternoon and welcome to our final monthly membership meeting of 2020. I'm Justine Paradiso and I'm the Marketing and Programs Manager with the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your attendance. And I just want to remind everyone to please use the chat function during the event. Charles is happy to take questions and we will also have time for Q&A at the end of the session. Before we begin, I want to thank our sponsors who make this event possible. First, to our ultimate presenting sponsors, Medical Associates, Midwest One Bank, Q Casino, and TH Media. And our platinum sponsors, Anderson Windows and Door, Cartograph, Collins Community Credit Union, Digital Dubuque, Envision, Fidelity Bank, Forge Social, Grand River Center, Grand River Mental Group, Holiday Inn, John Deere, Mercy One Dubuque, Stonehill Communities, Town Square Media, Unity Point Health Dubuque, and US Bank. A virtual round of applause for them from wherever you all are. Today, you are going to hear from Charles Marshall on the 7 powers of success, how to harness, develop, and apply your 7 powers to enrich every area of your life. Charles is the founder and president of Empower Resources, a company dedicated to providing growth resources for businesses and individuals. With over 20 years of full-time experience as a motivational speaker and comedian, Charles is one of the funniest and most original professional speakers providing corporate content today. He is the author of several books, including the 7 Powers of Success, and I'm Not Crazy, but I Might Be a Carrier. He has also produced and performed 2 full-length comedy videos, fully animated, and I'm Just Saying. Please join me in giving a warm chamber welcome to Charles Marshall. Charles, the floor is yours.
Hey guys, I'm Charles Marshall. I'm a full-time humorist, motivational speaker, and author, and a person of interest in several ongoing criminal investigations across the country. Some of you might be alarmed at that. Some of you might be thinking I fit right in with your extended family. Either way, I'm excited about being with you today. I am the author of several books, including the one I'm talking about today, which is The 7 Powers of Success, and the always popular I'm Not Crazy, but I Might Be a Carrier. Thought I might just start off by telling you a little bit about myself. I am a family man. I'm sure we have some family folks in my out in the audience today. I guess it's on my mind because we just celebrated my son's birthday a couple of weeks ago, and it hit the stage that he's going through is he's into superheroes. He loves all the superhero movies like the Avengers, Justice League. So what we thought we would do is we would get him all the action figures. And so on his birthday, you should have seen his face light up. He's tearing into his presents. He's going, "Oh, Dad, this is so cool. You got me Spider-Man. Oh, Dad, you got me Iron Man. This is so cool. You got me Batman." And immediately he starts playing with them, making them fight one another like they do in the movies. He goes, "Dad, what would happen if Iron Man attacked Batman?" And then here comes Spider-Man. He's going to help Iron Man. And then he sees me over there and he goes, "Dad, you can be the bad guy." And so like a parent, you probably do the same thing. Like a parent, I play along. That's what you do. So when my son starts chasing me around and I'm playing along and we're running around the house, I'm going, "Oh, don't get me Batman, don't get me Spider-Man." And it would be so cute, but he's like 23 years old. So I'm like going, "Come on, man, get a job. You can do it, boy." I'm kidding. My son is actually 16. My daughter is 18. And I mentioned birthdays. I have been a little nervous about birthdays lately. I'm in my mid-50s, rounding the corner toward my 60s, and I'll be frank with you, it intimidated me. But I thought, "Charles, you're a motivational speaker, dude, get a grip." And I realized that knowledge is power. So what I did is I got on the internet and I started Googling it, and I researched it, and I found out there are 2 things that happen to you when you get into your 50s. Some of my audience, some of you guys are already in your 50s. Some of you are approaching your 50s. So you might want to write this down. There are 2 things that happen to you. The first thing is you lose your short-term memory. It's true, you lose your short-term memory. You forget words and phrases that you just said. don't even remember you just said them. It's so alarming. The second thing that happens is you lose your short-term memory. You forget words and phrases. Some people I know are looking at me like it's all poor thing is happening to them right now. It didn't. That was a joke. We'll move on. I'm doing a program today entitled after the book that I just told you about. It's called The 7 Powers of Success. That book was a little bit of a grassroots bestseller for me. It came out in 2013 and it stayed. Books usually have about a 2 or 4 week shelf life. That's literally where the term came, is shelf life of 2 to 4 weeks. That book stayed on shelves across the country for over 3 years. It's still available online, of course, but I'm going to be talking about that. I think if we're having the conversation about success, though, especially in 2020, it's important that we define what success means. There are a lot of people who think success just means being rich and famous. A lot of my kids' friends, they'll think that if they see you on television, you must be successful. I don't think that's the best definition. There are a lot of successful people that are not on TV, and there are a lot of people on television that I wouldn't necessarily define as successful. For example, Charlie Sheen. Charlie, that doesn't look like success to me. That looks like a little bit out there. How do you define success then? The best way to define success, I believe, is as the process of fulfilling your potential, growing where you are planted now. It's not about getting the new job. It's not about starting the new venture. It is about the process of growth. It's not about the prestige of a position. It is about your growth. Are you growing? Are you fulfilling your potential? The thing that keeps me up at night sometimes is not whether I failed at a project or not, it's whether I didn't even try. So we're going to be talking about a journey that you're going to be taking to fulfill your potential, and that is your success journey. If you're taking any journey, you need a vehicle to get there. I'm going to tell you about your success vehicle right now, and I'm going to describe it to you in a way that you can remember. The steering wheel of your success vehicle is the power of choice. With every decision you make, you're either steering your life, your career, your relationships, your finances toward fulfilling your potential or away from fulfilling your potential. Real easy to think about it that way. Do you have your hands firmly on the steering wheel of your own life? Somebody told me once that if you don't run your business, somebody else will. Isn't that a scary statement? There's no such thing as a vacuum of choice. Somebody's making choice. Are you making the choices for your own life? The second of the 7 powers is the power of vision. It is the windshield of your success vehicle. It is the lens, if you will, through which you see the possibilities of your journey. Is that lens clear? Are you focused? You guys just had, I think Justine was telling me that you have about 9 inches. I've been in that kind of snow before, and it's kind of a scary thing. It can be really intimidating, especially if you can't see. I've driven in whiteout conditions before. The windshield is important. Can you see where you are going in your job, in your career, in your relationship with your kids? Are you focused on? You don't have anything to focus on if you haven't set your vision. How about that? The power of mind is your onboard GPS. How you program your mind will determine how well you navigate around the obstacles you will inevitably encounter in your life. The power of action. Love the power of action. I love being around power of action people. I would submit to you the reason you're watching this video now is because you are a person of action. You like to engage, you like to learn, you like to grow. I love that. The power of action is the accelerator of your success vehicle. How you engage? Are you the first to volunteer? Are you the first to step up? Do you initiate? I'm going to talk more about all of these things in just a minute. But I love people, being around people who you don't have to get behind them and shove them to get them to move. Then you have the power of failure. Yes, failure is a tremendous benefit, and you cannot be successful without failure. No successful person seeks failure, but neither do they shirk from it. They will not shirk from an endeavor or project just because there's a risk. Do you engage risk? And when you do get engaged risk, what do you do when you hit the wall? When you slam up the wall, do you park your success vehicle by the road and then walk off and go, oh, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be? Or do you learn from that activity and try again? Then you have the power of character. Power of character. Character is the frame of your success vehicle. How strong is that character? Is it made out of tempered steel? Are the pieces welded together solidly? Here's the scary thing about character. If your character fails, it is not just your life failing. It makes waves around you. It affects the people you work with. It affects the people you are with in your community. It affects your family. It affects everybody. So you never have a character failure in secret. Last but certainly not least is the power of belief. The belief is the engine of your success vehicle. Do you believe in yourself? That's important, but I like to apply it. Do you believe and invest in other people? So we're going to start off with choice. We're going to go ahead and dive right into it because we've got a limited amount of time today. So choice, everything you do is choice. The fact that you are here, the fact that you're watching this presentation right now means you made a choice. I know two people are involved in it, but if you're married, that's a choice. You made a choice. Can I brag to you for a second? This is so exciting. My wife and I, talking about marriage and choice, my wife and I just celebrated our 31st wedding anniversary. It's so exciting, 31 years. And the weird thing about it is, this is the strange thing, is all of a sudden, it seems all of a sudden, now my wife and I are the older couple. It's the weirdest thing. We're the older couple, and people are asking us about what is your secret to success? What is the big secret? There's no secret. I will tell you what the secret is. Here it is. My wife and I go out on a date every single week, no matter what. We go out on a date, no matter what. Oh, no, not with each other. I'm sorry, I can see how that might have been misleading. No, that's not going to happen. No, but the other way, it seems to be working. So that's what we're doing. We're employing our choice. Everything you do is choice. You always have a choice. I hope you get that. Well, I always start with choice because if you don't get the one thing, choice, if you don't get that one thing, all the rest of the 7 powers don't even matter. They don't even have an effect on your life. And you always have a choice, no matter if you have bad things happening to you, no matter if you have a 2020 economy, no matter if there is COVID-19, you still have a choice. You can't control the things that happen to you in your life, but you can control what you do about them. This is so essential as a business person, as a business owner, as a person who's involved in business, because if you allow yourself to take your hand off the steering wheel of choice, well, then you will allow yourself to find excuses not to meet your goals, not to have a quota. You will automatically eliminate or shut down creativity that will take you through the crisis. Everything is choice. I'll give you an example. In 1987, I was driving down the road in my 1976 Ford Pinto. For those of you too young to know what a Ford Pinto was, it was an upscale sports car, something like a Maserati or a Ferrari today. Oh my goodness. And if you were one of the fortunate few that were fortunate enough to own one of these vehicles, you would be known as a person of distinction and prestige in your community. I think I have a picture of one on my computer. Let me just pull that up for you. There it is. Now that is not my Pinto, but that looks exactly like that. I found that on the internet. I will show you a picture of my Pinto, the one that I did have, in just a second. So I was driving down the road in my Ford Pinto, and all of a sudden I was T-boned by a 1980 Volvo four-door sedan, instantly breaking 4 of my ribs, separating my AC joint and turning my left shoulder into a hamburger when the driver's side window shattered. Immediately, I tried to pull it over to the side of the road, but immediately heroes ran up to my car and they dragged me out of the car, and they dragged me about 25 or 30 feet away from the Pinto, because one of the bonus features of the Ford Pinto was that they would spontaneously burst into flame with little or no provocation. If you're a former Pinto owner, you know what I'm talking about. You could just be driving along and hit a strong wind for no reason at all. It was an exciting time to be alive. Listen, my generation, we didn't need extreme sports. We didn't need to bungee jump or parachute off a building. We drove Pintos, and it was so exhilarating because every day you got behind that wheel. It was so, you felt alive because you knew it could be your last day. It was a wonderful, wonderful feeling. So there I am. I'm laying on the side of the road, broken and bleeding. And I remember only having 2 thoughts in my mind. The first thought was, I remember when I grew up, my mama told me to always make sure you wear clean underwear every day, because you might get hurt and have to go to the hospital, and I don't want you embarrassing me, Charles. You wear clean underwear. So as I'm laying there, I remember I was thinking about it, and I was wondering, I remember I'd put clean underwear on that morning, but I was wondering if after the accident, I was wondering if they were still clean. I was wondering, honestly, if we're being honest with one another, I was afraid I might have had 2 accidents in the same morning. Just saying. So, the first thing I was wondering, the second thing I was wondering is, I was thinking about getting some pain medication. I don't know if you've ever been in real pain before, but that is what I would classify as real pain. And I've had something like 30 kidney stones in my life. So I know a little bit about what real pain is, and having 4 ribs broken, that was real pain. So I was thinking, I knew that for my day to get better, they were going to have to give me some kind of medication for that. So when the paramedics arrived, I said, can you give me any kind of pain medicine? They said, no, sir, Mr. Marshall, I'm sorry. Our job is to stabilize you and monitor your vitals. We can't give you any pain medication, but ask at the ER. They can take care of you there. I said, fine, I'll do that. So I got to the ER. People are running around me, and people are putting in IVs. They're cleaning out my wound. Finally, I slowed a nurse down. I said, excuse me, ma'am, can you give me anything for the pain? She said, no, sir, I'm sorry. We need you lucid for the examination process. We're going to be doing a lot of tests on you, and before those tests are completed and before we get the results, we're going to have you communicating with us, because that's the only way we will know where your pain is. I said, okay. About 2.5 hours of excruciating pain later, they finally gave me some hospital grade pharmaceuticals. I'm wondering if any of you guys have ever had hospital grade pharmaceuticals. No, I meant legally. Hold on. I meant legally, have you ever had hospital grade? That's a different thing. That's a different story altogether. They gave me some hospital grade pharmaceutical, and I'm in my my hospital room for the first time that day, and I'm just kind of dealing with the day. The pain has just subsided for the first time all morning. Went into my room at that very moment. in March, Nurse Ratched. I'm wondering if anybody gets that reference. Nurse Ratched was a mean nurse. From the phrase originated from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and she was a mean nurse. And Nurse Ratched walked into my room, and without saying anything, without saying boo, without saying hello, without saying howdy, without saying how's your day, she took two of her hands and she started pressing on my bladder like that. Just not hello. She just took her two hands and started pressing on my bladder. Does that seem weird to anybody else but me? That seems weird, right? It's not just me. I didn't know what she was doing. I was like, I thought it had been a while since I've been in the hospital. I was like, well, what does she do? Maybe this is how they say hello. Maybe this is a new hospital greeting. Hello, Mr. Marshall. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. How are you? I don't know. I didn't know. That's my point. So instead, I asked her, I said, ma'am, what are you doing? She said, sir, I'm checking to see if you need to void your bladder. I go, oh, okay. Well, I wish you would have asked me. I don't need to, but thanks anyway. She said, sir, you might not know if you need to void your bladder. You might be in shock. I go, no, I'm pretty sure I don't need to void my bladder. She said, sir, I have checked you, and as a medical professional, I am telling you, you need to void your bladder. I was like, I don't mean to be argumentative. I'm really not that way. But as the current owner occupant of this situation here, I'm telling you, for at that time, over 27 years, or 28, 26 years, I don't need to go to the bathroom. And she said these words to me, I'll never forget. She said, sir, if you don't void your bladder, I am going to have to cath you. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. She said, sir, cath stands for catheter. I go, ma'am, I'm sorry, I still don't know what catheter means. So she started explaining it to me. And I was listening and I'm paying attention because it seems like it might be important. I'm going, yeah, there's a little tube, and there's a little tube. I see a lot of like the IV tubes, yeah, that kind of IV tube. Okay, then it goes down to a little bag. I see that, and then you take the other end of that tube, and you know what? I think I need to void my bladder now. She made a believer out of me real quick. I think I need to void my bladder, but I tell you what, that situation just changed, it traumatized me for years, even to this day. It still impacts me when my wife and I are getting ready to go on a trip. She'll say, honey, do you need to go to the bathroom before you go? I'll be like, I don't know, honey, could you just come and you check me, you tell me, and I'll do whatever. I've lost my confidence. I don't know anymore. You just tell me, I'll do whatever you want. Why do I mention that? Did I have a choice with Nurse Ratched? I certainly did. As long as you're conscious, as long as you're awake, you have a choice. You always have a choice, even when things get ugly. I like to tell happy stories, but can I just tell you a serious story for just a second? When my parents are both deceased, and I just moved, and a lady came over to get some boxes that we had left over from the move, and I asked her who she was moving. She said she was moving some stuff because her mother just passed away. This lady was about my age, and she started to tear up, and her mother passed away a month ago. Can I just tell you, when your parents pass away, it's always sad. It doesn't matter how old. She was in her mid 80s, but she was sad because you always feel like an orphan when your parents pass away. My father passed away in 1991. My mom passed away in 2003. My parents used to be pretty wealthy in the early 60s, but then my father had a heart attack in 1971, 1972, and it affected his work. And the rest of my childhood, we watched our personal wealth atrophy. All the furniture, all our material goods, we watched them just decay and get torn up and not get replaced. So when my mom passed away in 2003, after the funeral, my sisters gave me a call, And they said, Charles, is there anything you want left of their possessions? There's not much left over, but is there anything you want? Without hesitation, I said, yes, I want the red Christmas tablecloth. And they sent it to me. When I'm traveling, before March, I would travel about 100,000 miles a year. Now I travel a little less, but when I'm traveling, I can't take this with me. But today I have the red Christmas tablecloth on the screen. It looks more orange because it's kind of faded, and there's not much to look at. It's not that it has some great material value. It's not that I could put it on eBay and make $1,000 or anything. It is threadbare in some areas. You can even see that it's kind of threadbare a little bit right there, and the seams are pulling apart, and it's washed out. It's faded a little bit, but such was the value of this tablecloth in my family, and such was the message behind it, and the story that my parents told me every year. I wanted this as a keepsake to pass on to my kids. In World War II, to put a positive spin on it, this was a rare European antiquity. But the truth is, if we're being, that's really just a half truth. A half truth is a whole lot, they say. The whole truth is this cloth and thousands of others like it in late 1930s and early 1940s hung from inside of German buildings and inside of German occupied territories all over Europe. This tablecloth used to be a Nazi flag. It was not uncommon for returning GIs to come back with souvenirs from the battlefield. When they were in Germany, a lot of my uncles fought in World War II. My father fought in World War II. They brought back things like German helmets. They brought back daggers, even Lugers, bayonets, and sometimes in this case, my uncle brought back a captured German flag and gave it to my grandmother, my mother's mother. My grandmother, being the practical sort that raised 5 kids during the Great Depression, she took out her sewing shears. She cut off the offensive Nazi emblem. You got to understand that emblem has faded in meaning over the years, but to my parents' generation, that emblem stood for hatred. It stood for suffering. It stood for selfishness. It stood for death, and they despised that symbol. So she took some sewing shears. She cut off that nasty swastika. She threw it away. She burned it. She hemmed up the edges of it, and they used it for the Christmas dinner cloth and Thanksgiving dinner cloth. When people would ask, why are you using a Nazi flag as your Christmas tablecloth? Why are you doing that? My grandmother would answer with a phrase that, again, became foundational in my upbringing, and this is the reason all of us kids would ask our mother to tell that story again. My grandmother would reply with this phrase. She said, because what was intended for evil will now be used for something good. What was intended for evil will now be used for something good. That, my friends, in essence, is the power of choice. People are going to be ugly to you. You might not like the government. You might not, maybe your guy got in, maybe your guy didn't get in. Maybe you wanted, I don't know what your politics is. Maybe maybe you wanted your guy to get in, whatever it is. If you let all that affect who you are, you're taking your hand off the steering wheel of choice. Don't let other people's ugliness, especially in social media, don't let them come up to you with their little Nazi flag. And I'm not saying either party is a Nazi flag. We need to get off that, because honestly, we need to connect as people, honestly, and quit being mean to one another. Both parties. I'm just saying both parties. And this is, I don't do politics, but that's my little social media. It gets really ugly on social media. So when somebody comes up to you and gives you their little bit of ugliness, all you do, you just take off that offensive swastika. The ugliness is what I'm saying. And you just go on through the rest of your day. You need to respond with dignity, with elegance when somebody's ugly to you. When you encounter unfortunate circumstance, I do what I do. I just imagine myself driving down the road in my 1976 Ford Pinto, and it puts me back in a good place. I got to hurry on because we got 6 more than 7 powers to go. The power of vision. But vision is just seeing the end from the beginning. It's just seeing where you want to go, why you want to get there. I wish I'd had more vision when I was growing up, but I didn't. I was one of those people in my late teens and early 20s that was laying out in the sun, getting a suntan. And this is Irish skin. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm terribly pale, and it's just not made for the sun. Some of you folks can get out in the sun, and God bless you. That's good. I'm proud of you. But I didn't, and I got out in the sun a lot. And we didn't put on the SPF. Remember that? We didn't put on suntan lotion. We put on like baby oil. And really serious people got out the Crisco shortening. They slathered it on with a spatula. The whole pool area smelled like Kentucky Fried Chicken. You could hear the sizzling from a block away. That was the experience I grew up. So now I have to go to the dermatologist. I have some situations here that I have to watch. I had squamous cell carcinoma on my nose and I had to have a Mohs procedure to get that cut out a number of years ago. So I have to stay on that. And when I go into the dermatologist, it's not a pleasant experience. They always play these ads out in the waiting room that talk about, they try to upsell you. They try to give you the microdermabrasion or the chemical peels. And honestly, I thought, how gullible do you need to be to fall for all those ads? That's so stupid. But then they took me into the back, and my doctor sachets in. She looks like a runway model. Honestly, she looked like she's barely out of her teens. I said, "Ma'am, do you mind if I ask you? I don't want to do age discrimination here, but I want somebody who's not just out of school. Do you mind if I ask you how old you are?" She said, "I'm 87 years old." I said, "Can I buy a chemical peel? Can I get the microdermabrasion? I'll buy it right now. Whatever you're doing, I need some more of that." You have to know what your vision is, or you can wind up in a bad situation, or you can wind up not where you are. What is your vision for your life? What is your vision for your job, for your family? Where do you want to wind up? Why are you doing it? If you don't give time and attention to that, you have the danger of never winding up where you want to be. I wish I had more time to discuss all these, but time is moving on. So let's move on to the power of mind. The power of mind is just simply programming yourself. It's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. It's the difference between owning a power tool and knowing how to use it. You are, and this is the phrase, you are what you eat. If we were together, I would make you repeat that. I would ask for you to repeat that. You are what you eat. I am what I eat, not only physically. Don't get me wrong, I like junk food, but in my 50s, I found out I got to pay more attention to my nutrition because my body will find out. And it's the same way with my heart, with my mind. Are you programming yourself with positivity? I had an assistant years ago, probably in 2014, 2015, we started talking one time, and she said that she was plagued with negative thoughts. She was always fighting negative thoughts. And I go, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, I think about death and everything. I go, "Oh, okay. Well, I know you are what you eat." I said, "What kind of music do you listen to?" Because I'm a musician myself. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but I'm a musician. I said, what kind of music? Let's start there. What are you inputting? She said, "Well, my favorite type of music is death metal." I said, "Well, maybe that has something to do with it." Honestly, I'm kidding about that. I didn't know what death metal was. If you Google it, it means heavy metal music that is concerned with suffering, death, and dying. Now, disclaimer, because I have friends on Facebook that like death metal, and I'm not saying you, Charles is not telling you that you can't listen to whatever kind of music you want to. I'm not saying that. If you get that message, then you got the wrong message. What I am saying is you can have a little junk food, but don't make that your main diet. Because I've listened to some, and generally speaking, you're not going to find a lot of the powerful, positive, uplifting lyrics in death metal. They're not singing, gonna go to work and give my best effort. They're not singing, gonna step up and take care of my family. That's not what they're doing. So I'm just saying it's gonna be hard to listen to death and dying and blood and guts and suffering and killing and maiming and killing, death and dying, dying and dying, and go into work and say Empower Resources can help you is not a natural transition. Do you take the time to also eat healthy food, things that are going to affirm your mission, things that are going to affirm your choices, things that are going to affirm your vision? Do you input positivity? Do you listen to books on the way to work? Do you read a little motivational something throughout your day to keep you on track? One of the things that I like to do is I read biographies. Sometimes, yes, the business, I'll read Elon Musk. I've read Steve Jobs, Phil Knight, Shoe Dog, who started Nike. But I've also read a lot of entertainment. I read Phil Collins, Carol Burnett. She's written 3 memoirs that I've read them all. One of the things I would suggest that you do is go to my website, charlesmarshall.net. Sign up for my newsletter or regularly go to the blog. There are funny little lighthearted videos, but there are a lot of articles about customer service and personal development that I promise you will encourage your heart. And they're just short little essays, but they will encourage you. I tell little stories, kind of like Nurse Ratched, sometimes like the Red Christmas Tablecloth, but they're little encouraging stories that you can help program yourself. So go to charlesmarshall.net, sign up for it. That's one of the power actions that I'm encouraging you to do today. Power of action is the 4th of the 7 powers. One of the reasons you're in this meeting is because you are a person of action. I love being around people of action, and I love it especially when businesses do it. We have a bunch of little fast food restaurants, and I looked it up. I think you have one in the Dubuque area as well, called Chick-fil-A. And they are amazing in their service. They just rate really, really high in their service. And I think it's because of this one thing, their power of action. They take action. They do not wait around for people to tell them to do something. They go ahead and do it. Everybody has a little Chick-fil-A story. I will tell you mine, because I think it's enlightening, and it will do the trick in communicating the power of action. When my kids were younger, they were 10 and 12, we took the family in there and we ordered the waffle fries, the Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and 4 giant shakes. We put them on the tray, we took them all over to the table, and we put them on the table, right like that. Within about 45 seconds of us being there, my son was feeling very rowdy that day, and he's very expressive. His arms start arching toward that shake. I can see it happening in slow motion. I'm like, no! It was too late. His arm hits the shake, and boom! Shake explosion all over Chick-fil-A floor as far as the eye can see. I swear it went across the floor, out the door, across the parking lot, into Burger King across the street. My wife immediately got our paper towels or our napkins. We start cleaning it up, but out of nowhere materializes the Chick-fil-A mop and bucket brigade. They start cleaning it up, thanking us while they do it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It really means a lot to us. And we're like, oh my goodness, no, thank you. And all together, because this is the thing that went, it's like they practiced it in the back, that went, it's our pleasure. So meanwhile, the guy who poured the shake in the first place from across the room, without anyone telling him, He pours another full shake and he walks it over and he puts it in front of my son. He says a couple words to him, says, hey, here, buddy, I'm sorry that happened to you. That happens to me about 4 or 5 times a day. Don't feel bad about it. Well, that would be a pretty good power of action story, wouldn't it? But that is only half of the story, because about 15 minutes later, we've pretty much eaten all of our food. And again, my son has sucked down most of that shake when again, boom, shake explosion again, all over the floor. Again, the mopping bucket brigade, they're running out. They're thanking us again. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's even better the second time. We really appreciate it. The only thing that can make this better for us is maybe one of your kids that's thrown up, but this is still okay. Thank you. Where did they find these people? Again, the guy who poured the shake notices. And did I mention that my son had almost emptied that shake? My son had sucked down most of that shake. The guy pours another full shake, walks it over and puts it in front of my son. And I'm sitting there going, shoot, that boy just got himself a full shake. So I took my shake. I'm like, oh no, my shake fell. Somebody hurry. I'm in danger of being unhappy at Chick-fil-A. My point is just this, in the power of action. What do you do when the shake hits the floor? You get that? What are you going to do when the shake hits the floor? Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen sometime throughout the course of your day or week or 2020. What does the shake look like? Well, it looks like COVID restrictions. It looks like difficult, mean people. It looks like a loss of business. What do you do? Do you complain and go, I knew it? You know what? It's just dead gum, or do you just grab a mop and start dealing with situations, saying, all right, this is what we're going to do. Here's the plan. Yes, spilled shakes are a part of life. We're just going to handle it anyway. And do you leap into action? I have more time to spend on this, but the key phrase here is, instead of waiting for your ship to come in, grab a hammer and build a boat. Take action right now. Then we have the power of failure. Not going to spend a lot of time on failure, because I think that the people in my audience pretty much know about failure. You know about success. You wouldn't be a successful person involved in your chamber if you hadn't been through that. But let me just say this. You do not get anywhere in life unless you fail to that position. You've got to fail to that position. There is no other way. Sure, try to avoid failure, but do not make it your goal. You've got to fail through to your objective. I would not be in my position as a speaker today, as a national author. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't failed plenty of times. I've been on the road. Like I said, I was on the road 100,000 miles. I'm still on the road now, just not as much. You know, I went out last week. I went out, like 2 weeks before that, but just not as much. But and I've been doing this 25 years. There are times where I fail miserably. I remember once I was talking to this crowd, and they were just staring at me like they hated me. And every joke I had went over like a lead balloon. Honestly, when I got finished, I just about bolted down the center aisle. I ran around the corner into the men's room. I hid in a men's room stall, and I cried my eyes out. That was just last week. So it's important. I'm kidding. There are plenty of people who, let me put it this way, any successful person you can name, whether they are a butcher, baker, candlestick maker, whether they're a pastor, whether they're a singer, they went through tremendous rejection and failure to get there. Then we have the power of character, which is the frame of your success vehicle. The power of character, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, because I'm thinking that to reach your place in the community, you've got to establish your character. What do I mean by character? Well, I mean your work ethic. I mean your giving. I mean the the way you interact with people, but mostly your integrity. Your integrity is who you are. Your word is who you are. Do you protect that? Because you, and here's the hard part, and all of us think of us as ourselves as people of integrity, but let me just give you a real example. You are your word to other people. I had an assistant, again, not my present assistant, though, my point is, you teach people whether to trust you or not. And I had an assistant who taught me not to trust her, not because she was a person of bad character or necessarily she was evil. I'm not saying that. Simply because she spoke without thinking and she talked with authority about things that she didn't know anything about. I would say, hey, did those books go out today? Yep, we got them out. We sure did. I go, really? Because I don't remember seeing anything. Let me check. Oh, you know what? We didn't. Hey, did we get that contract in today? Yeah, we sure did. We got it in. We got it in. She would check, and I say, really? Because I don't remember that. Check. Oh, yeah, we didn't get it in. She taught me not to take her at her word. One of the hardest things about integrity is admitting when you're wrong. Can you do that? Are you a person that can admit when you're wrong? Give you a quick story. I learned how to admit when I was wrong when I first got married. I'm married to this real smart lady, and it's important to be able to admit when you're wrong, or you're just lining yourself up for a lot of frustration in life. When we first got married, we were sitting at a restaurant next to the table with the noisy kids. I wonder if you've ever sat at the table next to the noisy kids, or have you ever been the table with the noisy kids? Later, we would have kids and we would learn a little bit about that end of it. But when we didn't have kids, we were a little judgmental. That's how people often are. And I leaned over to my wife and said, wow, those kids are really shousy, aren't they? She goes, what? I go, those kids over there, they're noisy, they're shousy. She goes, oh, yeah, I guess they are. A couple of weeks later, we lived in an apartment at that time, and some kids were being loud outside. I said, honey, do you hear those kids outside? They are really shousy. Because you keep using that word. What do you mean? I don't know what that word is. I said, shousy. Yes, you do. When I was growing up, my mom always said, you kids need to quit acting so shousy. It means noisy, boisterous, loud, rambunctious. My wife goes, no, honey, I've never heard of that word. I said, of course it is. She goes, I don't even think it is a word. I said, of course it's a word. She said, honey, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I was a journalist. That was my major, journalism, words. All we did was words all day long, words, words, words. I grew up playing word puzzles. She's a terror at any kind of word game. She's just really good at it. She said, I grew up playing word games. And I'm telling you, shousy is not a word. I said, I will bet you $1 million that it is. That's just a little thing we've done since we got married. It's just all in good fun. It's not real. It's just one of those things. It's great to call the other person bluff, and it's all in good fun. Sometimes she wins, sometimes I lose. Nobody's really paying attention. But this time, instead of backing down, she takes my hand. She goes, I will take that bet. And that is when I felt my first little tremor of doubt in my position. I said, fine, let's Google it. So I went over to the computer and I started Googling it. I wonder how many people noticed an error in my timeline. No Google, no computers when we got married. What we did have is the 10-pound Merriam-Webster dictionary. We went and got it. We started looking it up. I went and got it. I started looking it up, and I'm looking at it, S-H-O, S-H-O-U, S-H-O-U-S-E, no shouse, no shousy. My wife, she's the opposite of me. She's very sweet and quiet, but she still can make her point when she wants to. Very sweetly from across the room, she goes, are you finding anything, honey? I went, no, no, I'm not. She goes, wonder what it means when a word's not in the dictionary. That sent me over the edge. I said, fine, I'm calling mama. I'm calling mama. She said, fine, call your mama. I said, oh, and this, pay attention to this girl. Listen, my mama, you're talking about your little journalism degree. My mama was an English teacher, high school English teacher, and she is about to take you to school, girlfriend. That's what's going to happen right now. She said, fine, call your mama. So I picked up the phone and I started dialing. Nobody under 35 in my audience knows what on earth I'm doing right now. Rotary phone, look it up, ask a parent. It's a wonderful invention. You can wear out your several fingers just trying to make one phone call. It took forever. Finally, my mom gets on the phone. I said, hey, Mom, it's your favorite son. No, it's Charles. Listen, I need you to answer a question and settle an argument between your daughter-in-law and me. She said, well, I'll do my best. I don't know if I can. What are you arguing about? I need you to tell her that shousey is a word. My mama started laughing. She goes, well, honey, it was a word to us. I was like, hold on, Mama. Sweetheart, go in the other room. Mama wants to talk to me privately. Mama, what do you mean? What do you mean it was a word? She said, well, when you kids were little, we lived down the street from a family that had 10 kids. Oh, my goodness. And those kids were always wide open. They were running through our yard at all times of the night. They were climbing our trees, screaming their heads off. The name of that family was the Shouse family. And when you kids started getting out of control, we would say, you kids need to quit being so shousy. I said, Mama, hold on. So you're telling me that not only have I been walking around my entire life using a made-up word, but on top of that, I also just lost $1 million. But I'm wondering how many of you think that that's an awesome word and you will use it again sometime in the future, because my thinking is if I can get enough of you using the word shousey, then I can get my $1 million back. Do you admit when you're wrong? Do you step up and let people know that you know that they're right? It makes you a bigger person. It feels like you're admitting you're smaller, but it doesn't. It makes you feel like the bigger, or it makes you seem like the bigger person. It's part of character. So we've talked about choice. We've talked about vision. We've talked about mind. We've talked about taking action. We talked about the power of failure, the power of character. Now we're going to end with the power of belief. We all need people to believe in us. I wish I had the time to tell you the full story. It's in this book right here, and I'm not, the purpose of my doing this webinar is not to sell you my book. If you want to know the full story, I'd love if you got this book, read in The Power of Belief in the back, the story of Mr. Mullins. We all need people to encourage us, especially when we're growing up. I wish I could see a show of hands to ask people who had been influenced, who had been encouraged by a teacher when they grew up, either in elementary, junior high, middle school, or high school on one, or college, a teacher, a coach, a band director. I needed it so much because especially middle school honestly was a minefield for me. It was a battleground, because that's when you find out where you stand socially, and you find out either you need money, you need good looks, you need some sort of talent, you need some kind of clothes, you need to be a member of like the family in town. And I was none of those things. I grew up poor. I mean, really poor. I wore hand-me-down clothes, and all I had was older sisters. You try looking tough on the playground wearing a yellow sundress and white sandals. You can't do it. People say, Charles, is that just one of your little bits that you do, or did you really wear your older sister's clothes? No, I literally wore my older sister's clothes. I have a distinct memory, and I need to get on eBay and buy a pair of these pants just to show you what I'm talking about. Oh, my mom holding up a pair of my older sister's pants when I was in middle school, when I was in 6th or 7th grade, trying to talk me into wearing those pants. Think Brady Bunch. Think a pair of jeans with a flower design, a flower, bright, big paddle flowers all over the front. That is what I'm talking about. My mom said, don't worry, nobody will notice that they're your sister's pants. Well, I did wear them, and guess what? They noticed. But fortunately, middle school kids are known for their compassion. and understanding toward other middle school kids. But into that scene right there came a hero by the name of Mr. Mullins, and he encouraged me. He was my junior high band teacher. He encouraged me, gave me a second chance. I started off and I didn't qualify for the drums. And Mr. Mullins, I came in my 7th grade year, and at 1 year into it, and I said, Mr. Mullins, I can't play, I can't be in the band anymore. He said, Marshall, I thought you liked being in the band. I said, I did, but I don't like my instrument. He said, well, what did you want to play? I said, Mr. Mullins, I wanted to play the drums, but I didn't qualify for it. I wanted to play the drums. He said, be in my office this afternoon, and I went into his office, and he tried me out, and I would play a little pattern, da, 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 or he would play a little pattern, da, 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 and I would repeat it on the other end of the desk, da, 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 da. And then he would play another pattern and would get more and more complicated, da, 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 and I would do it over here. Da, 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 da. Then he would play something more complicated. Da, 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 da. I'm kidding, it never got that complicated. After we finished, he said, thanks, Marshall, and I went home. When I got home, my mom was standing at the back door of the carport watching me come up the driveway. I think she'd been yelling at some neighborhood shousy kids. I don't know. But she said, what did you do? I go, what do you mean? She said, I just got a call from Mr. Mullins. He said that you're meant to play drums. You're supposed to play drums. You need to play drums. So such was Mr. Mullins' passion and belief in me that it ignited my mom's passion for me. So even though we didn't have the money, we didn't have $125 for a new drum, my parents scraped together $25 and went to downtown Jackson into Werline's Music and bought a brand new Ludwig concert snare with stand, practice pad, sticks, case, and drum rudiment book. And they put that $25 down and agreed to pay $5 a week, all because of one man believing in me. Within, if you'll allow me, within 1 month, even though I was the 7th drummer and the other 6 drummers had a year head start on me, within 1 month, I earned first chair. You go, why is that, Charles? Because you're so awesome? Well, yeah, a little bit, probably. I'm kidding. No, it was because somebody like you believed in me. I'm wondering who the Mr. Mullins are in my audience today. I'm wondering who the people are who come up beside other people and say, hey, you can do it. You got this, dude. Yes, I know COVID is kicking your rear end, but let's think about ways we can work around this. People, a chamber of commerce is a great way to move your career ahead and to learn things, but I hope you also think of it as a way that you can be a mentor for someone else, that you can be an encourager, that you can have impact. That is all the time I have. I've had a great time. I appreciate you guys. I know I felt it through the internet. I felt you were getting shousy with me a couple of times there. I appreciate that. I think we ought to do this next week over at my place. I'll give you my address. You guys show up and I'll put on some food. We'll grill. We'll grill out in the snow together, if that's okay. I'm turning it back to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Charles. That was fantastic. I will do my best to get shousy, passed around Dubuque. We'll make shousy a thing. We'll get you in the dictionary, and then you can get your $1 million back from your wife.
That's what I want.
Everybody needs that. I want to say thank you again, and I'm actually going to do a little screen share here. For everybody who is on the call today, I've got your name in here, my magical wheel of names, and you guys will get a chance to win a copy of Charles's book that we'll be purchasing from our local River Lights bookstore for you. So let's see who is going to be our big winner.
Drum roll.
Yeah, literally. Well, it looks like congratulations to our friend Eric Misko.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Eric, I was the whole time.
Yeah, he's I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next month at all of our chamber events and in 2021. So thank you all for being here. And if you have any questions for Charles, I didn't see any at this time, but feel free to reach out to the chamber and we can put you in touch with him. So thank you so much. And Charles, thank you for being here. Everyone have a great rest of your day and happy holidays.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, y'all.
Bye.